Hi, good evening. Hello.
Hello, good evening. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Is everyone still able to hear and see me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And
I was just checking.
okay.
All right, I'm going to give it just a few more minutes before we get started.
I don't see the screen though. I don't know.
You don't see my screen?
No.
Hi, Brittany. So I need to pin your video, correct?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I can hear you now. Okay.
Okay, good.
But Elizabeth, the interpreter's here. I don't know if you can see.
I can. So everyone, you should see the PowerPoint, and then you should see the interpreter right next to the PowerPoint. Marcy, is that what you see?
That is what I see, yes.
Okay, I have her video pinned, so.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, I'm going to wait one more minute. We'll start at, it's 7:05 my time, 6:05 Central. All right. I am going to go ahead and get started. This is Canvas 3.0, and we've split it up a little bit differently this year. Maria Hellard is doing Canvas 2.0. That session is going to cover how to build content from scratch in Canvas. So how would you build a quiz, a discussion? How do you add assignments? Okay, that is all covered in Canvas 2.0. It's a great training, and I encourage you to attend it and watch that one as well. This training is going to go a little bit more in depth. I am going to focus specifically on question banks and importing content from other courses. So let's say you have 5 sections of Algebra 1. How can you share that content between courses? It'll be pretty short. We're only going to go about 45 minutes. I have a PowerPoint. I will support that PowerPoint by actually going into Canvas and showing you some demonstrations. Okay, so my name is Elizabeth Jacobson. I am the content specialist for Proximity Learning. If you ever need to get in touch with me, here's my email address. All right, so our goals. How do you use question banks to streamline your workflow? And how do you import assignments to save yourself time when you are working between Canvas courses? All right, so the first thing is creating a question bank. If you would like a copy of this PowerPoint, I will be happy to send it to you. I will also post it in the professional development page, but everything is hyperlinked. So to create a question bank, Canvas has this great question and answer guide on every topic you could imagine. So creating a question bank, there is a link in this PowerPoint that will walk you through all of the steps. I'm going to go through them. But basically, creating a question bank. Oh, I did it again. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so creating a question bank. Why would I want to do that? So the first thing is when you are making a quiz, if you create those quiz questions in a bank, then if you accidentally save a quiz without updating it, if you accidentally hit the back button, you lose all of your work. I work on a Mac, and if I accidentally swipe this way, it goes backwards and it'll revert to the previous screen, and I lose the question I was working on. If I'm making a quiz in Canvas and I have this beautiful question, but I forget to hit save, or if I update that question, but instead like I save the entire quiz, I will lose all my work. So when you're in a quiz in Canvas, you have to update each individual question and then save the entire quiz itself. Otherwise, you lose everything. The other thing about question banks is once you have a quiz question in a question bank, you can use it later. So you could have a question that maybe has a graph component to it, a complicated question, and you want to use it on the review and the test. Or you want to take that question and tweak it a little bit, change it to then put on an assessment. You can do that with a question bank. So for example, with math, if you have quiz questions in a bank, you can change the numbers. Use the same graphic, but ask a different question about that graphic. Question banks are available within a course and between courses. That means once you've built a question bank, as long as the course is not archived, you will always have access to that question bank. So there are question banks I built last year for my pre-calculus classes. I still have access to all of those. So you can reuse your same questions from year to year without having to recreate. You can create questions for a specific assignment and randomize those questions by using a question bank. I'm going to show you how to do that. So if you wanted each student to take the same 20 question test, but you wanted the questions to be presented randomly, you would do that using a question bank. You can also copy questions to another bank for a test. So if you have lesson 1 question bank, lesson 2 question bank, lesson 3 question bank, you can pull questions from each lesson for a test. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do to go to your question banks is you're going to open quizzes. Okay, you're going to go to quizzes. So question banks are a place just to house questions that you want to use across courses or even across accounts. So in your course navigation on the far left side of Canvas, you're going to see quizzes. Click on quizzes. And then in the upper right, you'll see 3 little dots. Click on those dots and you will see Manage Question Banks. Once you click on Manage Question Banks, it will pull up all of the banks that you currently have. And then you're going to choose Add a Question Bank. And you can organize these any way you want. You can also copy between banks. So if you decide, I want to move this one from here to here, there is a move and a copy option between banks. So give your question bank a name. And once it populates, you'll want to click on the pencil to edit the question bank. Because right now, notice there are no questions in it. In order to edit that bank or add questions, you want to edit. All right, so now once you've opened that bank, you have options. You can add a question, move multiple questions, delete the entire thing, edit bank details. Mainly the only ones you want to focus on is just adding a question. Okay, so you'll hit add a question. And then it will look exactly like it does if you add a quiz question. Okay, it will pull up the question. You can choose multiple choice, true, false, numeric answer. And if you have questions about those, I can answer them at the end. And Maria also will go into more detail in Canvas 2.0. But you have the same options you do when you create a quiz. You can do an essay question. You can do a file upload question. Change the number of points. You have all the same options. And then you'll have your new bank. So if this is Unit 1, Lesson 1, you will have all of the questions. If you want to see the answers, you can click on Show Question Details. And now you can reference this bank in as many different quizzes as you want to. So the questions in this bank never go away. They're always there, and you can pull them into quizzes as you need them. And then once they are in the quizzes, you can edit them. So you can change them, tweak them slightly if you, let's say, want to use the same graphic, but ask a different question. Okay, so does anybody want me to show you that in an actual Canvas course? That'd be helpful for anybody. Anybody want to see that in an actual Canvas course? Yes, okay. So can everyone see my sandbox? Yep, okay. So you're going to go to quizzes on the left. All right, once you are in quizzes, let me make this a little bit bigger. Then you're going to go to the 3 dots at the right, top right, and click Manage Question Banks. And here you see, this is a sandbox. This is a demo course that I use just to play around in, like a sandbox. Anybody can request a sandbox to test out, for example, building a question bank or to house content from year to year. So I can put that link into the chat if you're interested in building your own sandbox. It's just a form that you fill out. But then once you're here, you will add a question bank. Give the bank a name, demo bank 11.7. And name it. You can name it based on topic, based on the lesson, based on if it's specific questions for a test. And then once you're in the question bank, you are going to add questions. Now this is for quiz questions only. So no assignments, it's quiz questions. Meaning it has to be a multiple choice, a true, false, fill in the blank, fill in multiple blanks, multiple answer. You can do essay questions if you want it to be more open-ended. You can do a file upload question. Matching, you have all of the options. Math is fun. True. Update question, and then you just add your questions. You can add as many as you want. The Show Question Details tab will show you the correct answers. It only works for up to 50. So if you get more than 50 questions, you won't be able to view the details, meaning you won't be able to see the correct answer. So that's the only consideration when you're making question banks. You might want to keep the questions less than 50. Okay, and then the nice thing is, as you're adding these questions, you don't have to worry about them being deleted. You just make your question, click Update Question, and it's saved. Now, if you've already built questions for your course, they are probably living in unfiled questions. So if you have a course and you've been building quizzes from scratch, your questions are probably there in unfiled questions. So let's say you want to move them somewhere else. you can use the move copy button. So now that you've discovered this, if you find there are questions that are unfiled, you can move them or copy them to a different bank. So I'm going to move this one to my demo bank. I can keep a copy or not, and then you just move them. Okay, so as you're going through, I encourage you to use question banks. I think it's very helpful. Give me 1 second. I cannot get my, there it is. I can't get my PowerPoint back. Zoom has hijacked my computer. Okay, so randomizing test questions. Oh, good. Yes, if you've been creating quizzes, you probably have a lot of unfiled questions that you could reuse for other quizzes. Okay, so how do you randomize test questions? Again, this is a link. So I'll be happy to send you the PowerPoint, and this link will take you through the steps in Canvas. The way that we're going to do this is we're going to copy all of the questions to a unique question bank. Or you can write a unique question bank that has all of the questions. So we're going to do a test bank, and let's say we're going to put 10 questions in it. Then you're going to create a quiz using a question group and link the test bank to that question group. Sounds complicated, but remember, there's a link, and I'm going to walk you through it. Okay, so this is nice because it allows you to place multiple questions within a group for the students to answer. You can choose the number of questions from each group and how many points. And it randomizes both the questions and the order. So if you wanted to, you could give every single student different questions. If you are pulling from, let's say, a 50 question bank, every student would get 20 different questions. Notice, if you need your questions to appear in a specific order, you cannot do them inside a question group. Okay, so remember, we have all of our questions in a question bank. The first thing we need to do is put all of the test questions in a unique question bank. So to do that, you're going to do move, copy, question. So you'll build a new bank, test, unit 1 questions, and you'll move all of the questions you want into that bank using the move, copy, question button. And this is what we just looked at. You can keep a copy in the original bank, or you can move them entirely. And then you'll be able to go in and view. So for example, here's my Revolution quiz, and it has the questions that I want for the quiz. And then you're going to create a quiz using question groups. So you go to quizzes, add quiz. You type in the details for your quiz, just like you always do. Do you want it to be a graded quiz, a graded survey? What assignment group? Do you want it to shuffle the answers? All of the settings that you normally include for a quiz. And then you're going to go to the questions tab and add a new question group. Okay, so you can name it or not. It doesn't matter. You can leave it group 1. Choose how many questions you want to pick, how many points per question, and then you're going to link it to the question bank you want those questions to pull from. So you'll click link to a question bank. You'll choose your bank and you'll hit save. So let me show you how this works. Let me see if I already have one. Okay, so here is, I've called this test 2. Let's just make it, I don't know, 10 questions just for fun. Does it have questions in it? Yes, it does. So I'm going to find some questions and move them into test 2. Those I've already used. So remember, I click move. I can keep a copy or not. I encourage you to keep a copy. If you're building a test, you probably want to leave them in the original bank. I'm just finding the questions that I want for this test and moving them in. Just get a few more so I can show you how this works. Okay, so we look at test 2, it has 11 questions. Perfect. So once you're happy with the questions that are in that bank, you're going to go to quizzes. You'll create a new quiz. Again, do you graded quiz, graded survey, however you want it to count. And we're talking about quizzes, but a quiz in Canvas is the format, not the category. So you can make this a participation grade or an assignment grade or a project grade or a test grade. So the category doesn't necessarily have to be a test. Now, if you click Shuffle Answers, it will shuffle not only the questions, but also the answers. So that's more randomization. You're going to go to Questions. You're going to choose New Question Group. And this is where we link it to a question bank. So I click link to question bank, and notice guys, these are all of my question banks, I think just about from the entire time I've been with Proximity. It saves between courses. So you couldn't see these questions in the course question banks, but I still have access to them no matter what course I'm in Canvas. So I'm going to see if I can find test 2 because that's the one we were working with. But you notice I have, there's 25 questions on rational exponents. Okay, test 2, there it is. I'm going to select this bank. And I want to pick all 11 questions. I want them to be 10 points each. Then I hit create group. Save and publish. And then if you preview it, every time you preview it, it should be different. So every student will have the same 11 questions, but they will be in a random order, and then the multiple choice, if they're multiple choice, will be randomized. Okay, let me show you one more thing and then I'll show you how to import course content. You can also, let's say you want to give, 5 DOK1 questions and 5, DOK2 questions. You want to break the questions up. You can do that as well. So I could build a quiz and I could add multiple question groups. So this is going to be, let's say, my easy questions or unit 1 or lesson 1 questions, however you want to break it up. That way, maybe everyone gets different questions, but they have, the same difficulty level. So I'm going to pull 5 questions, 5 random questions from this group for every student. And then I'm going to pull link to a question bank, link it to a different one. I'm going to pull 5 questions at random for this question bank for every student. You can see there's lots of ways to build these tests. So even if you don't have the same questions for every student, it's still fair. Every student has the same type. Okay, so that's question banks. All right, last thing I want to show you is how do you import course content between courses. This would be if you have 5 Spanish 1 classes, for example, and you want to create something one time and share it between your courses. The way you do this is using something called importing course content. So where you find this is in settings. You're going to go to settings. You want to be in the course that you want to pull the content into. So it's an import, not an export. Be in the course where you want the content to go. You're going to click import course content. You're going to copy a Canvas course. And this is where you have to type the course name in Canvas. So the example I use is we have content pages for all of our subjects, and all of our teachers have access to these content pages. So you can import any of our content into your course. So for example, Algebra 1, I want to import something from Algebra 1 into my course. Here's the most important thing. You have to click Select Specific Content. You cannot undo an import. Okay, there's nothing I can do if you accidentally import everything into your class. You'll have to go in and delete what you don't want one item at a time. So that's the only trick. You have to be very careful what you import because there's no way to delete it all in bulk. So you're going to choose Select Specific Content. It'll let you choose it in a minute and click Import. Once you click Import, then you see the option to select content. Now you can import entire modules or you can import specific assignments. So I'll do this twice. I'll do once. If I want an entire module, it will bring everything over. It'll bring the assignments, the PowerPoints, the links, the external links, text headers, everything in that module it'll bring over. So let me show you what that looks like. Almost there. There it is. Okay, so Algebra 1, you can see there's the entire module. You can also import one assignment or one quiz, one file. Remember, go to Settings, Import Course Content, copy a Canvas course, remember you have access to all the content pages. We'll do English 9. Select specific content, never do all. And then you can just choose one quiz or one assignment or one file. Now here's the trick. If you want to import, let's just say one quiz, one assignment, one file. It's not automatically going to add it to your modules. So I wait for it to import, but then you're going to have to add it to the module yourself. So I'm going to go to Modules, choose where you want it to live, build a new module if you need to. But then you'll have to add it separately. So quiz, we said it was called Act 2. You're going to have to add it individually. So if you add an entire module, the whole thing comes over. If you add just one assignment, one quiz, one discussion, you have to add it to the module separately. Okay, last thing. If you are moving over a quiz that is linked to a question bank, you have to bring over both the quiz and the question bank. Otherwise, it will be empty. None of these are like that. But if there's a quiz built, linked to a question bank, and you don't bring over the bank with it, then the quiz will be blank. Let me see if I can show you that quickly. I know Algebra 2 is built this way. So let's say I just pick a quiz from Algebra 2. I think most of them are linked to question banks. It will show up blank. And then your students will be saying, you know, there's no questions in my quiz. And it's because you brought the quiz over, but then you have to go back again and bring over the question bank. Is it going to work? No, it worked. Well, okay. Trust me. If you don't bring over the question bank, it'll be empty. It's happened to me many times. Okay, so again, in this PowerPoint, here is a link. It will take you to step-by-step instructions. How do you import? Remember, don't import the entire course, please. Make sure you change the category. It's automatically going to land in imported assignments, which count 0%. Be sure to change the category. Remember, if it's just one item, you have to add it to the module. So if possible, copy the whole module. It's just neater. And then if you have just general Canvas questions, there's a Canvas guide. And this is actually when teachers ask me questions I don't know the answers to, this is where I go. So the instructor guide, you can type a question, you know, how do I make a quiz? How do I make a discussion? Pretty much any question someone's asked before, and there will be an answer to it. All right, we have about 3 minutes for questions if anybody has any. Otherwise, the post-assessment, I'm about to publish it. The video will be posted in the professional development course. Thanks so much for joining me. I know it's late. At least it is on the East Coast. You can always reach out to me if you have any questions. Here's my email address, ejacobson@proxlearn.com. Oh, Momina, that's a good question. If you import the entire module, I would always import the question bank. All right, guys, if there's no questions, have a good night. Thank you, Brittany.